Hi, I'm JJ. Welcome back. This one I've been wanting to do for a while. I actually filmed it before and then I didn't like it, so I refilmed it and I finally was able to film it now. This one I saw back on the Uncommon Readers page, and it's the 5 hardest books to read. And I'm going by her definition of it, which were like emotionally hard. They were difficult reads just because of the subject matter and stuff like that. So my five, and all of these I uh, will kind of mention a little bit, but most of them have a whole lot of trigger warnings. The first one was Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. I really enjoyed that book, but it was trauma after trauma after trauma, and some of it was just so descriptive and brutal, especially the sexual assaults and stuff, and the physical abuse. The mom was had I don't know if it was bipolar, but she did have mental illness, and she took it out a lot on Betty. And there was a very descriptive abuse part where she actually it dealt with animal cruelty to baby kittens, and it was so descriptive and haunting and disgusting that it was really hard to read. And then there's also incest and stuff, and so a lot of really traumatic things to discuss in there, that it is not for the faint of heart to read that one. I mean, I did have to step away a couple of times. The next one is My Dark Vanessa. I also had to step away from this one a few times, but that's by Kate Elizabeth Russell. And this is about a girl whose teacher seduces her and abuses her, and convinces her that they're in love and it's in a relationship, but she is 15. And so the story takes place because years later, maybe like a decade or more, he is being brought up under the the Me Too stuff, where a lot of his former students are coming forward and saying that he assaulted them. And she just left trying to deal with that, because in order to survive it, she had to tell them herself that they were in a relationship and that she was in love and that he loved her. Otherwise, she might not have gotten through her childhood and what he was doing to her. And now she had to kind of reevaluate all of that and doesn't really know if she wants to come to terms with it. So we see it now, and then we see her version of it, and we already know that he's this monster, and we see all the ways that she tries to justify it and lets it get warped in her mind just to try to like be okay. But as she's doing that, we see how horrific what is happening to her is, and it's just completely out of line with like what the lies that she has to tell herself to get through it. And it's a really difficult read, but I feel like it's a very necessary one. Along those same lines was Nobody's Girl by Virginia Roberts Giuffre, and this one is one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims. And she ended up writing this and then dying by suicide. And you see how her childhood and how horrible her childhood was, and how it led her to being essentially captured and controlled by Maxwell and Epstein, and how they prey off of already broken kids instead of trying to get them help and trying to protect and support them. They continue to further victimize them, and it was absolutely disgusting and horrifying. The other one that was also very brutal and just graphic in its descriptions was The Painted Bird by Jerzy Kosinski, and that is post World War II. And it's this, you don't know if it's a gypsy boy or a Jewish boy, but he's abandoned, and he's still a young boy, and it's so detailed of the horrors of war, but the horrors of what comes along with war, the loss of innocence, the brutality, all the different ways he was meant to suffer and brutalized, and the things he had to see and endure, and just it was so deeply disturbing and descriptive that it actually like once I finished it, I just couldn't stop thinking about it for a while, and I didn't even thoroughly enjoy it. It just stuck with me in a way just because of how much it hurt reading it. I don't know how else to describe it. And then the other one that was the hardest to read is not hard in the aspect of the other four, but this one was one that took me so much time to read. I kept stopping and going, and I just could not get into this book, mostly because I hated the main character. I'm glad that I read it, and it ended up being good, but I could not get beyond the main character. So the book is very popular on YouTube, The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. And you follow a guy who keeps cheating on his wife, the wife, and one of the women he's cheating with. And the women, they were fascinating characters. The wife knew what was happening and had to try to pretend that she didn't, just so she could, endure the marriage. And then the woman kept telling herself that she didn't want anything more, that this was her choice rather than having to be feeling used by this guy who obviously didn't love her. So their characters were interesting, but you get him, and he's just like this awful guy, and I hated the depiction of how he treated the women, how women were mentioned and talked about within this book. It was really, really hard to get into, and in his parts, I struggled. As soon as I got through his chapters, I enjoyed it again, and then I had to get back to his chapter, and I just struggled. I just didn't like him at all as a character. And what was interesting, though, about the book is that it takes place during Soviet era, and now I can't remember which country he's from. I want to think it was Austria, but don't. I'm not quite sure, so I won't talk about the country. But it was the invasion, and you really get to understand what a country who got swallowed up by the Soviet Union, how that was, how they lost their identity when that happened, and how it systemically changed the way in which they interacted with their neighbors and their occupiers, and that part was interesting as well. I really liked it when he got into the psychology of it, the history of it. If it wasn't for the horrible main character trying to take us there, I probably really would have thoroughly enjoyed this book. But because of that, I almost didn't even finish it, and then I would have missed out on this rich history aspect woven into it. And what was really unique about it and interesting is one of the things that they did, or that was discussed, is when the Soviets came in and started controlling and occupying their country, they would not allow pets, so they all had to kill their pets, like their dogs and stuff, and then any other dogs in the area. So there was no dogs around, and when they moved to try to flee, he and his wife got a dog, and it kind of almost allowed them to restore the humanity. And once they fled and the humanity got restored, then I started liking it more and better liking that main character and his change and his growth and stuff. But the reason that they do that and make you not have pets and kill your former pets is to get you basically immune to that cruelty and that treatment, so that when they started doing it to other people, when they started needing you to spy on other people and turn other people in, and knowing that it was going to be the death of them or the torture of them, they already had to make you basically apathetic. And it started by not having pets, because extending your compassion to an animal made it harder for you to be controlled when the time came when they needed you to turn on your fellow humans. And I thought that was really intriguing to understand. Very similar to what the Maoists did in China when I was reading Feeding Ghosts, and how because they had such a huge famine there, they had to like kill all of the sparrows and the birds and stuff from eating all their crops, and it made them so much easier. Once you can kill one living thing, it won't affect you as much when other living things die, and eventually you basically just are deadened to that empathy and compassion, and so seeing that connection. So I ended up actually liking the book. It just was one of the hardest ones to get me into, and I stopped it. I started it. I mean, I paused it for like months and months before going back to it. And usually I don't, but there's just enough of interest and intrigue in there that I did want to see what happened next. I just needed to force myself to get through the character that I didn't like's point of view before I could get to the meatier stuff that I enjoyed. Anyway, those were the 5 hardest books that I've ever read. If you haven't already done this tag, or if you would like to do this tag, consider yourself tag. I'm not going to tag anyone since it's so late in doing it, and I don't even know if it was official tag to begin with. I just, like I said, I saw it on the Uncommon Readers page, and I wanted to do it because I knew exactly what books I wanted to discuss. And some of these I don't get a chance to talk about anyway, so I wanted to here. So, as always, thank you for watching. Have a great day and happy reading.